Hi, everyone. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Good to see everyone. Good to see you all here. I heard myself singing that song from Mr. Rogers, as I was opening up today. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Anyway, hi, neighbor. Good to see everybody. A couple of announcements. For starters, I just want to say that we are playing today. The charity we have chosen today is Oxfam. A little bit about Oxfam. This is a nonprofit organization that helps care for people who are experiencing extreme suffering. Poverty, etc. They've done quite a bit of work, for example, for refugees, Afghanistan, Syria. This is a time when I really want to push forward with prayers and convictions that we see poverty end in our lifetimes, right? So they will get food, emergency aid to people who desperately need it in areas that are experiencing things like war, drought, etc. Right now, Afghanistan is really suffering. So we really want to support Oxfam. And I just want to thank everyone ahead of time who has chosen to donate to Oxfam. We're going to be here, as is our way, for about an hour and a half. But before we get started, I just want to give gratitude to everybody who's decided to join us for today's Sunday brunch. And be sure and tell me what you're having for brunch. I had my toasted barley flakes, which I bought when I was in the farmer's market. It reminds me of my days in the old country, right? My previous incarnate, no. But I wanted to taste sampa. Have you all heard the term sampa, which is a type of barley flour with butter, with ghee, and I think salt and tea. It's supposed to be very delicious. So I said, that sounds good. Let me see if I can make something similar. And then, of course, I made something entirely different. So I'm toasting the barley flakes with ghee and adding some nice nuts and seeds and cinnamon, and it makes for a very hearty breakfast in the morning. So I really enjoy it. Thank you, Angela Bruce, for the donation of 20 pounds to Oxfam. I see there's a lot of people already donating, but alas, I'm not able to see everyone who has donated. We also have an anonymous donation to Oxfam as well. Good to see everybody here. Thank you, Julia Wooster, hypnotist. I believe she's on Alignable and we may be connected. Correct me if I'm wrong if you are looking for a hypnotherapist. And I believe hypnotherapists are also available, if I'm not mistaken, through Zoom and telemedicine. I don't think they actually have to be in the room. So it is a safe way to do therapy during the COVID crisis. So be sure and check out Julia Wooster, and I'm sure that Julia will be kind enough to give us information about her work. Angela Bruce, good to see you again, Angela. Exilda Smith, hello. Super Queen B, 45, great to see you back here. Vicky, hello. Mystic Tarot, welcome. Redwoods, also great to see you. Marcia Leonard, Bad Boy Rob, can't start the day without him. And happy first Sunday to you as well. Connor Thomas is in the house. Miss Patricia, Kitty Connell, Mary Welsh, Geo Cosmic Valentine. All right, I'm going to be continuing to say hello to everybody as we go along. Thank you so much, Liz Matson, for that wonderful donation to Oxfam. My goal for the month is $5,000 for Oxfam. And let's see if we can't hit it by the end of the month. Wonderful. Serafina M as well, $20 donated to Oxfam. Our familiar, the great and powerful Mila is in the house. And she wants her presence to be known. Yes, there you are. See, there you are. See yourself? Here you are. Yeah. So come up here so you can, that's where you sit during the live shows. We've gone through this many lifetimes. I was listening to a lecture from, how do you pronounce his name? Dojin Shujin. He's the oracle of Tibet. He's one of the oracles. And he was teaching a couple of years ago. They do the prayers, they put him in a trance state, and he gave some very good advice. And I thought, wow, I'm going to share some of what he talked about, and hopefully that it can be, it can be an inspiration for all of us. The real oracle, not the whimsy oracle. But he was talking a lot about the importance of, well, he was not a fan of tarot readers and astrology because he kind of felt like, if you want to see what your future is, take responsibility for your life and create the future you want. I actually think that's true, but I do think that what readers do is they look at the energies that are coming and going. That's certainly what I do as a remote viewer. And of course, we all have free choice. I agree with that. But it is kind of nice to see where to follow energy and just to see where it's going. He himself is a fortune teller. So he's the oracle that, helps the Dalai Lama. So there is a place for it. There is a place for this type of work, but we always want the power to be with the individual. And I think that that's what he was saying, that we should be mindful of how we interact with other people, that when we are kind, we get kindness back. When we are generous, we get generous back. When we are cruel, we get cruelty back, which of course is, in modern Buddhism, we don't blame the victim. We understand that some people in life are just, not very nice, but we try to help support people have the tools to deal with the difficult times in the world. So I think that it's important to have that balance between, my personal responsibility, what I am personally responsible for as a human being versus, being narcissistic and thinking that I have ultimate control. I have control for my actions and my choices, and I do the best I can, keep my house in order. Yeah, so I thought that was a really nice teaching I got to listen to last night. Thank you, Marie Wells, for the $20 donation to Oxfam, and Anonymous also for the $20 donation to Oxfam. Douglas, good to see you here. And thank you for the donation to Oxfam. So things are again getting hot in here, as you know. What do y'all think about the fact that things are starting to get toasty for the Congress people in DC? We now have them being pulled from their Twitter accounts, right? So Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yeah. She's been pulled from her Twitter account because of making false statements about COVID. I really feel like we're seeing a slow, steady breakdown of everything that was Trump, the craziness that was Trump, the gaslighting, the bizarre. It was a very bizarre couple of years. I must confess, I've never seen that type of crazy in the United States or in. And I know people are concerned about democracy. We'll certainly look at the future of democracy today. But I don't know. What do y'all feel? It feels to me like with 2022, there's this hopeful, positive energy coming in, and sanity is returning. So I think one of the ways we do that is we remove the microphone from the crazies. Oprah Winfrey used to talk about this, where she refused to give the microphone to fascists, etc. She was not going to give them a platform. And I think that that's a really healthy attitude. People do have free speech in this country, but that doesn't mean you have to give them a platform, right? Thank you, Leslie Garden, for the $20 donation to Oxfam. It is very appreciated. Kathy Murray, thank you so much for the $10 donation to Oxfam. It will certainly be used for good purposes, I hope. All right. So it's interesting when you go into this energy. Now, when we're talking about just being remote viewers, as I had said in previous remotes, we're going to go through the remotes real quickly, and then we'll do the Impasse prayer, and then we'll go in and we'll give a collective reading for everybody for 2022. Messages from Spirit for everybody for 2022. What you can do to have 2022 be the best year you've ever had. That is my intention, giving you today's collective reading. But I just want to quickly go through the remote views. This is something I really want you to think about a lot. And that has to do with the fact that I just feel like there's a microscope over the Justice Department right now. I cannot stress it enough. If you're talking about the energy, and I would really like to hear what other remote viewers, other people who do HCRV and remote viewing, but I just feel when I sit in the energy of this country, I feel like I am pulled to the Justice Department. And I think there's a lot that is going on in the Justice Department that a lot of people don't know about. But what it feels like is it feels like everything that Trump touches dies, right? You ever heard that? Everything that Trump touches dies. Everything is there was so much corruption, and the impurities boil to the top. When you're trying to burn something off, the impurities boil to the top. So right now, what's happening in the Justice Department and what's happening in the United States is there's kind of a heat under the corruption. It's like a boiling pot when you're trying to purify something. And so consequently, if you would just think about that imagery, that's the Justice Department right now. And so on the one hand, it's rather frustrating, in the sense that we're sitting there waiting for the pot to boil, waiting for the pot to boil. And we've got this big, big, big pot, and it's slowly starting to heat up. This is what the meditation feels like. And then the impurities come to the top, and then we skim them off. The other thing you have to realize is that when you go into this energy for the Justice Department, you think about this heat coming up and all these impurities being taken off, is that the people that are at the bottom, if we really meditate on this energy of what I see in spirit, or sometimes I'll see something with the third eye when I go into the trance state, and that's what I see. It's like purifying a pot that has impurities. Who feels the heat first? Who feels the heat first? The people at the bottom, right? Whatever the impurities are at the bottom of the pot, those are the ones that are going to start feeling the heat, right? And so, and as they rise, right? So it feels to me like that is exactly what's going on with the Justice Department. You have this pot of stuff that has to be purified, and the stuff at the bottom is starting to heat up and feel the heat. And that is ultimately what's purifying this pot. But we're starting to see the heat at the bottom, and now it's rising to the other levels. There are people that worked with Trump and the former administration under January 6th that simply don't have the mental wherewithal to survive prison. Now, when you go into the energy of the Justice Department, you don't just see January 6th. January 6th is it's just one incident, but there are a ton of things that the Justice Department is looking at. It's looking at corruption. We've talked about this in the FDA. The FDA is under a lot of trouble because there's rising evidence that they were suppressing COVID data, right? Other countries were saying, don't eat the pork. In Italy, that swine flu and avian flu and COVID have similar markers, and it's dangerous to be having these animals in these closed conditions. This is how the Spanish flu got spread in, I believe it was it 1918, 1919, when we saw 60 million people die. Probably started in farms in I believe Kansas and Missouri, and then spread from there to the barracks where men were sleeping. And then from there, it made its way to Spain, where it became known as the Spanish flu. And it was a very violent type of a virus that caused bleeding from the lungs. The inflammation caused bleeding from the lungs. It had a vascular aspect. And so we can see some kinds of similarities there. So the FDA is now under investigation because there's evidence that they were suppressing data about the spread of disease. They were also pushing through food products potentially that were not safe for people to eat. Trump also approved to increase the number of animals that were being slaughtered in slaughterhouses, which was leading to injuries and increased death risk for employees in slaughterhouses. So we have that investigation. All of that has to come simmering to the top that the Justice Department is dealing with. We also have suppression of data from the CDC. So the CDC, right, this is another thing that has to come out: suppression of data, firing scientists, etc. Okay, so we have that. Then we have the EPA, right, suppressing data about environmental sciences, global warming, etc., possibly firing people, threatening people, phasing people out of their jobs, etc. So we have that investigation. So now we have 3 investigations. We have that just have to do with public health, right? FDA, CDC, and the EPA. Then we have an internal investigation, people inside the Justice Department who are starting to come forward, who feel that they were pushed out of their jobs or threatened, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, while they were working at the Justice Department, corruption that they saw inside the Justice Department. So there's an investigation into that. Then there's an investigation into the State Department, which was gutted to the point where there were ambassadorships that never took place. And again, it led to horrible, horrible international relationships between the United States and other countries. So there's a major investigation into what was going on in the State Department. There's also an investigation into private companies that had contracts with the United States that were potentially engaging in illegal activity. There's now an investigation into the New York Police Department and the police unions, potentially helping with January 6th or working alongside the president in ways that are questionable. Michigan is under criminal investigation, particularly Homeland Security, police, et cetera, because of what took place in Michigan. Texas is under serious investigation, even to the point where we're seeing a 2.5-year audit over Texas because of corruption, stolen money that was supposed to go for COVID relief, environmental protection, et cetera, that instead was pocketed by private companies. Basically, it was stolen. So all of that, right, all of that has to come to the surface. And so it's frustrating, right? Because what was it? Somebody said a watched pot never boils. Yeah, it does feel like that, doesn't it? It's a little warm in here. I think I'm going to turn my heat off. I wonder if I can do this in front of you guys. I can, yay. Oh, that was great. So, it's frustrating, right? It's frustrating. It's frustrating to wait to see this process, but it's something to meditate on, which is that the sediment on the bottom, right? The stuff on the bottom, the sediment, the dregs, the poor, the misrepresented, the scapegoats, etc. Those are the first to come up, and then they begin to aggravate the middlemen, and then the middlemen become aggravated, and then it comes to the top. And this is how we purify things. So again, we're looking at a 2.5 years of clearing out, specifically also when it comes to misappropriation of funds going to private corporations that basically stole the money from the American people and didn't do anything. It's going to be interesting to see. I think it's very possible, I talked about this in the past, that we could see a change of leadership in Texas. I think it's very possible that Beto O'Rourke will become the governor of Texas. I think it's going to be shocking when and if it happens, but I think it's very possible just because exposing all this corruption that's coming out is not going to bode well for politicians, people in the police. This is something I saw also with um, Texas was corruption in the police department. So yeah, 2.5 years of heavy work from the Justice Department. So it's frustrating, right? People are like, what's Merrick Garland doing? It's like, okay, we'll go in. Remote viewers will go in, and when we go in, we're like shocked. Holy moly, those are a lot of investigations. Every single complaint has to be investigated, and there are thousands of complaints, right? Okay. I don't know what you're all drinking for your brunch, but I am drinking bubbly, Bubly, and it's delicious. Raspberry flavor. Also, I want to give a shout out to Jeffrey from Ripe Color. He's a great psychic and a beautiful artist. And you can see I've got the Ripe Color. Looks backwards, doesn't it? Anyway, this was made by Jeffrey, and it's so beautiful. What I love, well, the reason I wanted to wear it was because Jeffrey made it for me. But it is the colors of the Queen of Wands, right? That fire, that passion, that optimism of the Queen of Wands. And we've talked a lot about the fact that this is a time where we are coming into our leadership, looking at our ethics, looking at our leadership, how we can be our best selves, how we can watch what we say to people, make sure we're kind, make sure we're generous, right? Donating to good charities, helping others. One of the things that Dorjin Shogun said when he was giving his teachings, the oracle from Tibet, he said, every time you approach another living being, understand that at some time that human being has been your mother, that human being has been your father. That when we think about there are multiple lives, multiple dimensions, multiple reincarnations. And so everyone we know at some time has been our mother or our father. He also said that everyone we meet, we have murdered. That it's like, how many people did I kill in my previous lifetimes? And he said, well, you've had infinite lifetimes. So just consider the fact that you've pretty much murdered everyone you met. You've also loved everyone you've met. You've been married to everyone you've met. They've been your mother. They've been your father. I just thought it was really a cool teaching to really think about that. Definitely my cat and I, there's something there. Convinced she's my mother. Anyway, it's such a beautiful scarf. I love it so much. Be sure and check out Ripe Color and also ask about where you can purchase his scarves. I really want to support his work. He's quite good. And again, thank you, Anonymous, for the donation to Oxfam. And another anonymous donation from Oxfam. Thank you. Looks like our donations to charity are going great. Okay, so if nobody has any questions or comments, maybe we will go ahead now and do the impasse prayer. Would you all like that? I think if you go to YouTube, Ripe Color, Jeffrey Ripe Color, you should be able to be connected to his. I mean, the colors, I want to just wrap myself in this. I feel like, I mean, look at this. I just want to just kind of like I think the colors really bring out your, you know, I'll be a little bit like Sarah, what was her name? Sarah Bernhardt. She always had the great, ah, she was always so dramatic. But yeah, it's a very, very beautiful scarf. So if you want to support a great local artist, check out Jeffrey at Ripe Color on YouTube. Also, he's a great psychic and an empath, does remote viewing, etc. Oh, Miter Sangita. Yeah, sometimes you'll get memories. You'll get memories where, if it's okay with you, Douglas, I kind of want to take a look at that. Um, yeah, sometimes you'll get memories of past lifetimes that are really pretty wild. My first memory when I did the past life regression shocked me because you always want to be like a princess or something like that. But instead, I was a caveman and I didn't have a developed prefrontal cortex. So I was going around, and if I was hungry, I was just bashing things over the head and eating them, like no understanding of what it was to cause suffering. So I thought that was really interesting. Like I got to experience what it was to have. Oh, Mila, no, she wants to play. She's getting bored. To what it was like to have no prefrontal cortex. So I must have been on this planet for a really long time. Thank you, Anonymous, for that donation to Oxfam. Okay, would everybody like to hear the Impasse prayer and get the collective reading for 2022? Okay. Did Paul Ryan know? I don't think that Paul Ryan understood the full extent of what was going on. But I do think that he basically had the feeling like it was time to get out of politics. I think he got into medical marijuana. All right, let's do the Impasse prayer. We will go in, we'll take a look, we'll see what's going on. This is our collective reading, what we need to be aware of for 2022. And let's just see what happens. All right, let's do the prayer together. Okay, I want to call on white light protection for myself and this community as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and our good angels to be with us. Please give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us on our journeys, to make the best decisions for ourselves, for our families, for the planet, for the people we love, but also to help those that we may have strife with. And together collectively as a community, we say, Amen. Let's go in. All right, where we are, what we are dealing with in 2022 collectively as a community is two things. The first thing that we're dealing with in 2022 is that a lot of us are going to be making some very, very tough decisions regarding boundaries, regarding this is a feeling. that a lot of us are going to have to put our emotionalism aside a little bit. We're entering into a time, the whole country is, where we've kind of grown up emotionally. There's kind of an emotional the best way to describe it is that there's an emotional maturity here. There's a time for the Aquarius energy, right? So Aquarius is very logical. It's an air sign. It is cold, logical, Spock. It has a time and it has a place. Sometimes we think of it as cold, but it's the ability to step back from our emotions. There's a maturity to this card. And it's also a card we associate with making logical decisions for ourselves going forward, putting emotion aside and being able to look at things objectively. So the card that I think of as like Spock is the King of Swords. We've talked about a lot about the negative aspects of the King of Swords in the sense that the King of Swords is also referred to as the Ice King. It is associated with winter and blue ice, colder than cold. So, again, it's going to be a cold year, right? We've talked about the fact that going well into spring, we're going to be seeing very cold, wet weather. But the King of Swords is also the logical king who goes in, he looks at truth, he's got a sword there, so he's going into battle, but the sword is raised, he's not engaged in a violent act. This is someone that has an aspect of truth to them and logic. It reminds me in some ways of RBG because RBG has that aspect, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She often spoke about the fact, we don't want to be helpless, emotional wrecks, crying and screaming hysterically. It's not, in her words, it's not very attractive, right? If you want to be a lady, if you want to be a gentleman, it's the person who relies on no one. They take 100% responsibility for their life. Okay, I have to take responsibility for my thoughts, my actions, my speech, my diet. If I gained an extra 20 pounds, okay, I'm not a victim. What do I need to do to fix it? That's the energy coming in with the King of Swords. We're entering into a time of just being logical, putting emotion aside. How did we get here and how do we get out of this? How did we get here and how do we fix it? Logic, reason, sanity, the sword of truth, emotion aside. And what's interesting is that there is this idea that God helps those who help themselves, right? God helps those who help themselves. So you have Ace of Cups moving in as the base of the matter. So the more that we take responsibility for our lives in 2022, the more we put emotion aside and look at things logically, like the King of Swords, without emotion, the more we find others are helping us and supporting us. The focus here is taking care of ourselves, looking at our situations logically, putting emotion aside, creating lists, checking them twice. This is logic, reason, justice, violence held, right? The person has the power to really make things miserable for people, but he holds the sword. Don't don't make me come after you, right? That's the King of Swords. He's shockingly logical to the point where that's irrefutable. Being hysterical and screaming is not going to help us in 2022. Having our facts straight, having our ducks in a row, making sure the data is irrefutable, repeating the data over and over again, being rational with people, pointing out if people cannot have a logical conversation with us about the facts, or if they're getting violent or frustrated because we're giving them the facts, that's their problem. But right now, your job and my job is to get our facts in order. What is our current situation financially? What do we owe? What are our debts? What are our relationships like? What do we want for 2022? Let's get ourselves a 3-month plan, a 6-month plan, a 1-year plan, organized, logic, reasonable, looking at things as objectively as we can. That's the Aquarian energy. And we find that when we get on the straight and narrow, we are helped. This card also is associated with the African god Ogun. Ogun. For those of you who are interested in learning about the Yoruba and some of the African traditions. So he is the Orisha, the energy that exists in the world that drives us to work, to produce things. He's associated with iron and metal. Now, when we think of Chinese medicine, metal is associated with the lungs, right? Grief. And it's also associated with, to some extent, fear. But we think about, when we think about the lungs, their counterpart in Chinese medicine is the large intestine. So the large intestine holds the waste and then eliminates it. So but in Chinese medicine, it's associated with metal. And in the Yoruba tradition, it's associated with the energy of Ogun, a time of work, logic, reason, putting anger and emotion aside. Okay, and where we are right now in our healing is we are ready to build a new life for ourselves. Now is the time to build a new life for yourself. The old ways are gone. The spirit of the King of Swords has come to you to let you know that now is the time to put emotion aside and to stop being angry and emotional about things that have come and gone a long time ago. Instead, now is the time to be logical and reasonable and be able to step back and look at your life objectively for where it is right now. And understand that you have work to do in the world. This is a time of work. You must work now. But it's also the time of building new things. And there's a great respect that others have for you because of what you've achieved and because of your ability to put emotion aside and be as rational and logical as possible. You've worked hard to arrive at the point that you're at right now. And sometimes it also means giving a cold shoulder to certain people. Where you are at right now is the Four of Wands. You have begun the process of building something new. You have the basics necessary to build a new life for yourself, so long as you put the emotions aside and continue to focus on what you logically need to do to get from point A to point B. Your crossing card, the thing that is blocking you at this time, procrastination, bad habits, not wanting to get off the couch, spending too much time on YouTube. I stand accused and convicted. We have the Knight of Pentacles, slow going. Now, there's a good thing about this in the sense that it's methodical. And it also could indicate stable work and stable money. But it has an aspect to it where the person may be procrastinating. So your biggest enemy right now, number one, is too much emotionalism, right? Because they're telling us that now is the time to be logical and to put emotion aside. And the other biggest obstacle for you in 2022 is procrastination. What is above you? Still letting go of grief. There comes a time when grief is self-indulgent. It's okay to grieve the past. He promised, right? There's a time for that, to sit and grieve what could have been and should have been. But the fact that the Five of Cups sits in the fourth house means that the person is still processing some grief, which is okay, so long as it doesn't become self-indulgent. It doesn't block you from doing what you need to do going forward. So be mindful of grief, that grief has a place. And certainly if you've been traumatized, it needs to be processed. But make sure that the work you're doing is processing the grief and it isn't and that you are not engaging in self-indulgence. So be mindful of your thoughts. Thoughts have power. Negative thoughts about others, negative thoughts about your situation, grieving about relationships that came and went a long time ago. Learn to work smarter, not harder. Find out what it is you truly want to do versus what you feel you must do. Of course, we have to be mature and responsible, but we don't want to be engaged in work that is unnecessary, backbreaking, or puts us in a situation where we're too exhausted to do the things that really matter to us. What we're sitting in is the 10 of Wands, a feeling like we're carrying a load that doesn't belong to us. Also, it's the heavy load. So if you're paying other people's bills, if you're bailing other people out, now would be the time of the King of Swords to really begin to do an account and a reckoning of your finances, of your current situation, and ask yourself, in what ways am I exhausting myself or shutting down because I'm doing other people's work for them? And that's true also in the workplace. Now is the time for boundaries and to begin cutting the cord, doing work for other people because it's preventing you and causing you to procrastinate in doing the work you need to do. What you're coming out of is a period in your life where you may have felt gaslit, confused, in the clouds, possibly spaced out, not enough protein, not feeling rested when you sleep, too much sugar, too many phantoms or fears of things possibly happening that will never happen. We're coming out of a time of confusion, Seven of Cups, and also confusion about what we want out of life. Do you know what you want? The universe cannot give it to you if you're sitting around grieving about others, or if other people are manipulating you to do their work for them. Things must come to an end, and your energies instead must be directed towards a logical resolution of what it is you need to do in the world. Coming out of a state of confusion, being in the clouds, not really knowing what you want to do, which pulls you in multiple directions, exhausts you, and causes you to procrastinate. Do you have a clear vision of your ideal self a year from now, 5 years from now? And if you do have a vision of an ideal self a year from now, 5 years from now, write it down and then ask yourself, what steps are you taking right now to get you from point A to point B? In the near future, they want you to have fun. It's okay to have fun. You don't have to be a Calvinist. Well, we work from morning to night and then we die, and it's only through the grace of God that we are saved. That's kind of, how our grandparents thought, perhaps, but it's complete. She's off to something. She wants attention. Yes, okay. Mila? So we have the Three of Cups coming in, which is that as part of being a healthy person, it's also important for you to understand that being in joy, you're not committing a sin by having fun. Go have some healthy fun. Go out and play in the dog park with your dog, or go do a hike and meet friends. You can take care of yourself and have fun at the same time. Do a nice jog or a hike, play with your puppy, do whatever you have to do, and then go out with your friends and have a nice lunch. It's basically what Spirit is telling you is go out and have some fun. You are not sinning by going out and having fun. It's important that you enjoy your life now and not wait for your life to become better tomorrow. Three of Cups is also about a time of becoming more social than perhaps you were in the past. And where you're at right now, be mindful of addictions. This is a group that appears to be struggling with addictions, marijuana, alcohol, codependent relationships, cigarettes, sugar, too many cookies. My problem right now is sugar. I don't smoke, I don't drink, and I don't drink alcohol. What I do is I get lazy and I eat cookies, right? That's me. I just want to sit and watch YouTube and eat popcorn and eat cookie, and I just eat and eat and eat and eat and eat, right? So we have the seventh house again coming in as challenges. I just can't say no to anything sweet. devil card in the seventh house. So be mindful of your addictions. See if you can't find healthy alternatives. And yes, thank you for joining us. Hi, how you doing, Mila? Hey, Mila. Hi. Want to give me a kiss? Yeah, you gonna stick around or bite me again? Anyway, so let me know what your challenge is. Cheryl, I'm right there with you. I mean, I am really good. I hate the taste of alcohol. Once in a while, I'll have half a beer. More than that, and I get sick. But I can do half a beer if it's a good ale or something like that. But then I usually get drunk and fall asleep. My thing is sugar. I love food. But if you're going to be a foodie, make sure and do a great hike, exercise, and then go out with your friends and have a really great food. And then un petit peu, all right? Be like a French woman, a little bit, a little bit. If you love to snack, look at fun snacks that are healthy, right? You don't have to give up the hummus and the whole and the rice crackers, those sorts of things. But just be aware of, let's start moving towards moderation and health in all things. It's got to be some sweet things out there like sliced apples or something that can satisfy that craving. The others in relationship with you, people are very sensitive to us, right? So the more logical, the more we take care of ourselves, the more we are focused on being our best selves, the more we are putting the emotionalism aside. Yes, Mila, it's true. The more others respond to us in kind. Logic produces logic, reason produces reason. The more disciplined we become, the more others respond to that. The hope and the fear for us, our own growth. We are a group of people that needs to continue to grow, to learn, to evolve. And then the final outcome for us is a little bit of romance. I've seen this for this group. A lot of people winding up with younger partners too. I'm seeing for a lot of the women that are looking for true love, you may find yourself with a younger partner. And the same is true for the men. Younger can be better, right? If you're looking in the love department. But we do have that Knight of Cups, which would indicate beauty and romance and potentially a younger suitor for many of us. Yes, if you want love in marriage, 2022 is definitely a year when you could be finding true love for yourself. I'm also seeing somebody who makes you feel young at heart. Somebody is offering you potentially a new contract. Also possibilities for real estate purchases for many of you. That could be happening. Might be a wise idea once the market stabilizes, that you will have success in possibly purchasing real estate and possibly also in your love department. The final outcome for you for 2022, you did the hard work, and now is the time to enjoy that hard work. You emerge the survivor and you thrive. And as you can see here, you're juxtaposed between two aces, both your karma card, both the base of the matter, which is to receive love and blessings from spirit. Also, it's the wedding chalice. And then Ace of Swords, which is victory after tears. If you've engaged in battles with others, if you're engaged in a lawsuit, it'll probably go in your way, so long as you are organized, put emotion aside, and get your facts in order. And you keep hammering the facts. It is very likely that you will be successful in any legal undertakings that you're currently dealing with. All right, so that is the collective reading for everybody. And of course, I do private readings as well through tarotwithwhimsy.com if you feel you need something more private. Hi. What's going on with you? Can you not see we're live? Yeah? What do you want? You want to go play? Yeah, you do. She wants you to play. Where do you want to play? You want to play with all these cool people? Mila? Look at how she eats my hand up. Shh. We play, and sometimes she gets rough. Look at that. I have a beautiful left hand, and then she eats my right hand. She is she was semi-feral, and she just when she fights, she just I have to put a mitten on or something like that because she just wants to rip. You want to fight? You want me to fight you, but I can't fight you because I'm working. So hopefully that year's reading gave everybody some clarity about, write it down. Where do you see yourself in a year? What's your weight a year from now? Yeah, and I'm part of the collective, so it looks like something young and yummy is coming my way. And I can live with young and yummy. The thing is also, it doesn't necessarily mean the person's physically younger than you. The Knight of Cups is a feeling of romance. It's that a love that makes us feel like we're 17 again. It's the wedding chalice coming. If you want romance, it's here for you. And falling in love, it doesn't even have to be a sexual relationship, just really finding somebody who sees you, understands you, respects you, that you can have that deep bond with. Those are the types of relationships that are coming for us a lot. Just deep understanding and compassion between human beings. And if you want romance, that's available for you as well. I'm on the fence, I'm on the fence. It's kind of like, oh, you're offering something? Well, what do you got? Like I'm a little, I don't know. So whenever I receive the order, I will do what is known as some blitzes. For those people who do not know what a blitz is, it is a 5-minute reading. Usually involves about 3, 4 cards. Ooh, my goodness, that was fast. I got the blitz, blitz, blitz away. Oh, well, I have received the order. So let us take a look at some of the questions that people have been asking me. We had quite a few. All right, first one is coming from Kimberly. I see this one here. Kimberly wants to know, there's a rumor out there that Kamala Harris will not be on Biden's 2024 ticket. Do you think she will replace Garland as the AG? So we're going to go ahead and do a quick blitz on Kamala Harris and see about her future with Biden and if she'll be the president or if she will go over to be AG. Good question, Kimberly. Kamala Harris. No, I think she's going to be the president of the United States based on these cards. It's very likely that she will continue to be the VP, and I believe that she will probably be endorsed for. I don't see Biden running in 2024 because his commitment was to stabilize the country. And I think that he is going to make a conscientious decision not to. I think there's been some debate about whether or not he will support Kamala, but I believe he will support her in the end. We can see here that she opens with the Ace of Pentacles. So this is a power position that she's being offered. One of the main reasons that, look, I think there's a lot of BS going out there about her and about what's going on with her in the White House. I do agree that she needs to be far more involved and prepped than she has been, because it's very likely she could become the next president. But this is somebody who's been offered a really powerful position, Ace of Pentacles, and then is called into a position of negotiation. There are a lot of people that are just horrified and mortified by the idea of her as president, not because she wouldn't make a great president, but because she's a woman of color. She's female and she's a woman of color. And there are people in the Republican Party that are mortified by the idea that somebody like Kamala Harris would be, she could be a saint and they would still have an issue with her because she's a woman of color, regardless of what her policies are, or regardless of whether or not she would be a great president. And we have to put that in perspective. Objectively speaking, here she's actually a very good president, and she's extremely good on foreign policy. We can see her, the power position, Five of Wands, taking in a ton of ideas from other people. She needs to have power that she doesn't currently have in order to control for all the voices. And there is some confusion there, but I think in the end, she gets the world, which I would say she's going to probably become the president. And I think she'll do a great job. The world would indicate also that she has a very good relationship in terms of foreign policy, and that the world feels much more comfortable with her being the president than a Republican being a president. Also, she looks like the world, right? She's you know, part of her ancestry comes from India, part of her ancestry comes from Africa. She's an American. This is what the rest of the world looks like. And so the rest of the world feels very comfortable about her being the president of the United States. The fact that mentally ill racists who have somehow clawed their way to the top of the food chain are scared of the fact that she's a woman of color, that has no basis on objective reality in terms of where we're headed in 2022 and beyond. This is the time of the King of Swords. This is a time of being logical and looking at data and who can get the job done and who can negotiate good, strong foreign policy for the United States, etc. And that's what we see with this candidate. I feel very confident with this candidate, with the Ace of Pentacles moving in and a final outcome of the world. But I'll go ahead and I'll do a clarification for everybody. Oh, she dances? I didn't know that. I think she's actually very beautiful, but she will. Here's the other thing that people don't realize about Kamala Harris. She's actually really great at negotiating with Republicans and with people. She's able to actually communicate across the aisle in ways that people are really underestimating her. We can see here the Lover card over the Ace of Pentacles, which would be somebody who can probably reach across the aisle, rather a good communicator going forward in the presidency. And she also has power in the Senate and the power to get people to come together. And I think she's probably going to be helped in the Senate to be the final vote in the Senate for moving things forward. They're going to position her. I don't know if it's going to be Murkowski and Collins, but there seems to be a movement in the Senate to help her be the final vote to push certain laws through. And that also gives her quite a bit of power in the Senate. We can see here the Five of Wands, the exchange of ideas, and then she is the final judge that pushes things through. So I think we're going to see a lot of decisions, 49-51, 50-51 if it's a split, with Kamala Harris coming in and having that strong judgment card. In terms of confusion over her, the bottom line is that this is a person very much in touch with reality. And she's also someone that's going to be instrumental in helping get the truth out, because we can see the High Priestess moving in over the confusion, the woman who carries the law, the light, or in Hebrew we've talked about is light. To bear the light is ta, or Torah is the light bearing, right? So when we think about the Torah is a physical book, right? Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy in English, right? So that's the Torah, the 5 books of Moses. but it has a mystical meaning as well in Kabbalah, which is that from these laws will emerge the light. The light is hidden within the laws. And so that is why you will have Torah scholars going in and trying to really merge with the spiritual essence of the Torah, similar to the Quran. The Quran is this idea that the lights are hidden within the laws. And so this is the message of somebody who was an enlightened being, right? And trying to really merge with the light that is hidden within the laws themselves. And we can see the light bearer comes to us. This is why I think that she actually has a very strong position as a president. And it's very likely the big surprise for her going forward is that she is able to reach across the aisle to the poorest of the poor, to the people who feel that they have been marginalized, even people who may have previously been Republicans or are still Republicans, and create deals with them. And I see her doing a lot of really great work globally. We can see over the world card, the Two of Cups. Yeah. All right. So actually, her cards are excellent, and it's very likely if she does run for president that she will be reelected with those types of cards. Her cards are very strong. You can't get, I mean, other people read here, other people are psychics, but in my opinion, how I read the tarot, there isn't a more positive card than in the card chart than the world card. So the fact that she had the world as her outcome, the fact that she entered in with an ace of pentacles, the fact that the world was clarified by the two of cups would indicate that she's a stabilizing force internationally and also in the United States, because it's clarified. The Five of Wands also came in. And yeah, her husband's Jewish. Yeah, very good point. So they keep a Jewish home, right? They're an integrated home, but they keep the Jewish holidays as well. So this is somebody who really represents all of America, right? And I think that makes her really a special person. And it's a great, rather than Republicans and people who are extremists being frightened, they should see it as a welcome to the country, that we can be proud of ourselves as Americans, that we will have a president that represents the great diversity of this country. And for that reason, I think she will do very well for herself. All right, so we have plenty of time to continue on with the blitzes. If you haven't had a chance to do so yet, be sure and share, like, subscribe, and click the subscribe. If you want to become a member, that would be great. We have Fairies and Angels tier. We get together and we have spa day and private readings. And of course, HCRV, if you want to do continuing education, learning how to be a remote viewer. That is the Healers and Impasse tier. If you need readings on a monthly basis because you own a small business or something like that, that would be the Elders tier. Gives you a free reading once a month and gives you all the other benefits. So might as well give you a quick commercial for this channel while I'm searching for questions. What happened to the Mueller report? Well, Laurel Carlson, the Mueller report was never important as far as I was concerned, because every time as a remote viewer, I went in and did remote viewing. I never felt that the Mueller report had any value at all, other than the fact that Mueller was able to take existing investigations and hand them over to the FBI. I do think that there was corruption in the FBI. I still don't understand why Christopher Wray is still in his position. January 6th never should have happened. And the fact that it did means that there were problems with Homeland and the FBI not doing their jobs. You can't organize something that massive under the nose of American intelligence without a lot of people in positions of power helping make it happen. And so for that reason, I think Christopher Wray should be fired. That's my own personal opinion, and I'm surprised he's still there. Okay. Thank you, Marcelina Robolito, for the $30 donation to Oxfam. Seeing a lot of also anonymous donations for Oxfam. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so let's go ahead now. Miss Patricia asked, oh, Marie Hansen also. Okay, let's ask about abortion rights in the United States. I think we'll do that first, and then we'll take a look at the 2022 elections. See, I see cooperation, particularly, again, I'd be curious to see how the other readers interpret it, but based on the Blitz by Kamala Harris, it's a time of cooperation. The old ways are gone. You know, if the Republicans want to get in on the ground level with the new green economy, join us. We want everyone working and happy. We're not out to get you, you know, but you need to, you know, fighting for coal, man, that's like fighting to go back to the, you know, days when we read clocks with a sundial. You know, it's like, what's the point? Okay, let's look at Texas abortion law and abortion rights in the United States. Future of abortion rights in the United States and Texas. They're in violation of the law. They're in violation of federal laws. And even if the federal laws are not being, even if the Supreme Court is not adequately dealing with the problem and has reneged their responsibilities, the Justice Department will come in and start auditing them. They're in a lot of trouble with the Justice Department, and it's actually the Justice Department and the feds that are going after them. That's fairly easy to see with these cards. So let me go through it with you so you see what I'm saying. You can see the Hierophant, which we think of as the Constitution or the ethos of the nation. You can also see the courts coming in with Queen of Swords, justice and truth. And you can see the Knight of Pentacles, the evidence being presented. And finally, unfortunately for Texas, and again, this is something I see a lot for Texas, the Justice Department. If Texas continues to act in ways that look a lot like sedition, where they want to go off and do their own thing, then they don't need to continue receiving federal funds. And it's very likely, based on these cards, that they will start to be not only audited, but face financial sanctions so that they're not. Look, they keep stealing the money and giving it to private organizations, and it led to cattle and chickens. 30 million chickens froze to death last year. You know, get with the program. So they can't keep taking federal funds and then sticking it to the man, right? You know, telling the feds to go kiss off and then steal all the money and give it to their friends. That they're in trouble. Look, you can see Archangel Michael moves into first position, which is the truth coming out, justice, and battling the devil. And also you can see the Constitution here. In terms of Lady Justice moving in, it's about evidence. The problem with Texas was that they, you know, they're going to be penalized. The money. I see the money. They're facing a really serious sanctions, and yeah, within 1 month, also we're going to start seeing an increase in sanctions, and basically the Justice Department is going to war against Texas and Texas business. You can see the Ace of Wands within 1 month, evidence, financial, here again, financial consequences from violation of the law. And then regarding the Justice Department, they're given a choice. They can either cooperate and begin to work with the feds and stop breaking laws, or they're going to face financial sanctions. You can see here the Page of Cups, which I think of as Hermes. It has an aspect to it of Hermes, but it also has an aspect of healing. In terms of angels, We think of Raphael being the angel associated with healing, also Gabriel, but it's mostly Raphael type of energy. So it's a healing, the waters are healing, it's messages of healing over the justice. They have a choice. Within 1 month, though, we're going to start seeing financial implications. And again, here you can see financial implications with the courts. And here you can see battling Archangel Michael over the issues of violation of constitutional law. They're in trouble. And it's going to cost them financially. They are. And that's the same thing that happened to Utah when Utah in the 70s said, well, Black people can't become Mormons. And they said, great, then people in Utah don't need to receive federal funds for their schools. Right. And then they had a massive revelation in 1978. God changed his mind about Black people, right? In the Book of Mormon, because federal funds got caught. Great. You don't need our money then because you're in violation of the Constitution. We've done it in the past. We did it with Utah. We'll do it again with Texas. And that's exactly what's going to happen. Oh, hi, Serafina M. Welcome to Elders in Impasse. Class starts Wednesday at 5 p.m. unless the group wants a different time. And we're going to be focusing a lot on practice, practice, practice. And we're going to be shortening the long form just so that it's going to be easier for people to go in and focus. We're going to be doing a lot of testing now because that's really what people want. Yeah. We did the same thing in Selma, Alabama, when we had to bring federal troops in and we started pulling the money. You can't just take federal money and steal it and threaten people and violate federal laws and do whatever you want. They don't get, and also when you go into this energy, it's like the police and the prisons, they're all in on it, they have a horrible track record in terms of human rights violations in the Texas police prison system. So I think the feds are done with them. Oh, Douglas, it was a joke. I believe. Anybody ever see the Book of Mormon? I saw it with my sister, Tamara, in London. We laughed so hard, our stomachs hurt. But there's a song like that. I believe in 1978, God changed his mind about Black people, because they really were in a lot of financial trouble. My concern with that, Foggy, is that you have avian flus. Foggy Ozark is asking about the light of scientists finding our bird populations have plummeted. Yeah, you have to realize if we can get COVID, so can the animals. This idea that animals cannot get COVID, avian flu comes from birds, right? SARS came from birds. And then the pigs got it, right? And then it went through a mutation that turned it from swine flu to or from avian flu to swine flu, and then from the swine it went on to people. So there's no reason it can't go the other way, right? It can't go from people to swine, from swine to birds. So if you have domesticated birds that are getting certain types of avian flu, there's no reason that can't pass on to birds in the wild. And unfortunately, that may be what's happening. We're looking at possibly some kind of a virus that's affecting bird populations because we've lost 800,000 Americans to COVID. And I think it's also infecting our animal population. I would not be surprised if it was also affecting bird populations. It looks to me like it's some kind of a virus or something like that. Good comments by Melissa. Yeah, I think so. She's talking about Omicron and Dr. John Campbell saying that science suggests that Omicron will cause the end of the COVID crisis. Very likely, because what it's doing is it's displacing the more virulent forms of COVID. And now we have a milder but extremely contagious Omicron. In a way, it's almost like, I hate to say it, a blessing, because everybody's getting it and everybody's being immunized by it. And it's extremely mild compared to the Delta. So on the one hand, we're afraid of it. On the other hand, it actually could dramatically lower the death rates. The people that are dying of Omicron are people that have not been vaccinated, have depressed immune systems, and may have had COVID in the past, and so they might have weakened immune systems. But for the most part, in healthy young people, Omicron is highly contagious, but not as deadly as Delta. So that is why many scientists feel that Omicron will be the demise of will ultimately lead to the demise of the COVID epidemic. I think within 3 or 4 months, we're on the other end of this. So we're talking about March, April of 2022. So the same goes for the bird populations. If they're getting what we're getting, and then they wind up being immunized with lighter forms of the viruses, then it will simply move through, and it will do what viruses do. They weaken and then die out. So, okay, so now your Foggy Ozark is talking about the 5G, safety regarding 5G and NG. It's going faster and faster and faster. Are there any health risk with these types of internet changes? Good question. Environmental scientists are concerned about people who may have environmental sensitivities to some of these electrical impulses that are part of our daily life. Cheryl Siminoff, I think we're going to see our way out of it by March, April of 2022, but I could be completely wrong, but that's what it looks like. So we're looking at 5G, 10G, and health crises in the United States and beyond. Anybody see the Book of Mormon? Am I just singing to myself? Did anyone get to go see it live? Brilliant. Well, it's definitely something that people are looking at. It's both affecting the United States, but it's also an international concern. So songbirds aren't just dying in the United States, they're dying overseas as well. And then they're tracking the rise of this problem that started outside the United States. So what they started to do is notice the death of songbirds initially was happening. It looks like it's also happening in Europe and other parts of the world. You can see the Three of Wands waiting for ships to come in overseas, monitoring, and there's Biden. So the songbird population problem isn't just affecting the United States. It looks like it was affecting other countries as well. Some truth or information is going to be coming out about it, and unfortunately, possibly more more problems in terms of protecting songbirds. This doesn't look like it's affected to 5G. It's not the 5G. It's not 5G. I think it's viral. It seems to lighten up by June of 2022. Hi, Mila. Hi. Hi. What you up to? The main thing was I think people were confused. It's like we're pretty sure where COVID came from was China, for example, and we know that wet markets and what's happening in Africa also has to do with exposure to animals that are infected. And so, this idea that animals cannot get COVID when we're pretty sure that it came from infected animals seems like, you're kind of talking confusion. It looks to me like it was viral. Same thing happened with it's an avian flu. It looks like an avian flu, a virus that's affecting avian populations. There's some confusion, though. They're trying to monitor where it started. So, for example, if somebody was importing birds from another country where there was some kind of a virus or some kind of an infection, and then that wound up spreading to local populations. That's what it looks like. It almost got imported through birds, or it comes in from somewhere else. There's confusion, and then monitoring. The FDA has to monitor, particularly livestock that's coming from other countries. That's what it looks like, because you have this confusion, and they're able to trace this epidemic that's affecting birds from outside the United States. I'm also seeing infections in Europe. And then you have the business, and it's affecting business, and it's potentially affecting markets, because you have the investigation, you have the markets, you had confusion about tracking and tracing. Um, and it could have a financial impact on importing, exporting. But it plays itself out by June of next year. The thing is it's not like it's not 5G. There's been a lot of misinformation about 5G. I'll go ahead and throw on 5G. I know that Putin doesn't want 5G because 5G was developed by China, and it creates economic problems for Putin. So he has put a lot of anti-5G information up. I would want to know if the information claiming that the birds is associated with 5G. I'd like to know who's publishing that data. Is it a peer-reviewed data, or is it simply a rumor being started that's being linked back to Putin's cronies? But let's take a look now at 5G, 10G. All right, 5G. Is 5G dangerous? It's a world event, so it's not just the United States. Yeah, it had to do with some kind of communication, or some kind of, it came in from outside the US. Yeah, I think it's a virus that comes in, or some kind of an infection that comes in, and so you have the conditions that, for example, chickens are stored in. It makes them very susceptible to avian viruses, etc. But you can see here the world, and an exchange takes place, and it was not at there was look under Trump. You have to realize there's a massive investigation going on with the FDA. Y'all know about the FDA investigations that are going down. They're quite extensive, and that has to do with the fact that they suppressed standards so that they could make more money. But unfortunately, we started seeing all these problems. COVID, suppressing data that COVID could be transferred with animals, letting infected animals come in, not monitoring for new emerging viruses, suppressing data from the CDC, the world, a connection with the world, being in the clouds, and then chariot travel. So it traveled here from somewhere else. I think this might be COVID, or it might be some virus similar to COVID. It's not like we can go and vaccinate all these birds. The scientists are already on the verge of understanding it, because you can see here, you have the ethos, the world. You have something about lovers or business or exchange, right? 6 of Cups. And then you have the star, so some kind of information coming out. And then you have the it traveled here. You have the experts. It traveled here. It was brought in probably by infected birds. That's what I see. Yeesh. Messy, messy, messy. I mean, look, if there's real data. Oh, somebody did see Star and Bar in Vista Del Mar. Did you see when they were tying themselves? Yes, it was very funny. Look, if there's real evidence that 5G, if there's data collection showing that, then I'd like it, send it to me. Whimsy Anderson at gmail.com, because I am definitely open to learning as much as I can about it. Okay, it is 12:30. I think we're going to do one more blitz, and then I will step down and let the other readers come on. Anybody else have a quick question for me before we? Yeah, look, it could be that 5G is dangerous, but look, it could be that Putin hates 5G and 5G is also dangerous. I mean, it's possible that both are true, but so far it looks like. Does 5G even have towers? I thought it was underground, but I mean, what do I know? Okay, Biden in 2022. Let's see how Biden's presidency is happening in 2022. Yeah, pesticides are also killing the bees. We do too many pesticides. However, this was large numbers, seemingly overnight, detected in areas like Pennsylvania, areas that have a lot of slaughterhouses, Midwestern United States. And now that the cards seem to suggest that send me the data. I mean, like, Maria, I'd love to take a look. All right, Biden's presidency in 2022. Well, the old economy is gone. The old pesticides are coming to an end. Everybody's moving towards green, green, green. That's why the powers that be are collapsing. It's why, God, can you imagine being Prince Andrew right now? All right, Biden 2022. People are disgusted with the royals right now. They're disgusted with the racism and all right. President Biden's in 2022, his administration. Oh, a lot of truth is going to be coming out. Archangel Michael. So this is the time when a lot of truth is going to be coming out under Biden. A lot of major changes. 8 of Wands is a card that would denote quick. Oh, reaching across the aisle. We're going to start seeing more reaching across the aisle because they want to get in on the ground level with that new economy. More and more Republicans wanting to approve the deal. He's going to get his infrastructure deal passed. Look at that. 2 or 3 more Republicans coming in to support Biden. And then the final outcome for Biden, new contracts. He's going to get his deal. Give us a round of applause. 3 of Pentacles. So, very productive, very fast. More and more Republicans saying, "We need jobs. We need jobs now in Alabama. We need jobs now in Kentucky. We need jobs now in West Virginia. We need jobs now." All right, all right, all right. We're going to get it through. Reaching across the aisle, happening quickly, the truth coming out. I would say this is an extremely productive couple of years between 2022 and 2024. No, I don't see him dying. People are always worried about that. I do think he only wants to do one term because he originally agreed his health is strong. Quick changes will lead to massive changes in Congress. Truth coming out, facts coming out, people being prosecuted. You can see the tower over the other. So I think Marjorie Greene, Boebert, and all these people, Gozar, I think Gates, I think we already know that the other lunatic from California is gone. Nunez, excuse me. I really see a big shakeup, and it does not look good for the Republicans. Quite the opposite. They're facing serious prosecution in terms of there are so many people in trouble from the Republican Party that the only people who are left are the moderates like Liz Cheney, and that puts them in a position of power to negotiate. Look at that. Look at these great cards of clarification. Look at this: truth, health. The other in relationship with him is crashing. Quick. This is going to happen quickly too. You know, when you think about the 8 of Wands, it's quick, right? And then he reaches across the aisle, power. Look at that. New contract for the New Deal results in stubborn. There's still going to be stubbornness, and there are going to be some people that are resisting, but he gets that deal in. Dang. Oof. People are leaving. You know, I don't see Mitch McConnell finishing his term. There's something here about people packing up and leaving from the other side. People that are stubborn and refuse to work together are going to be outed, because I'll tell you what decides America's future is the fact that the American people are angry that nothing is getting done, and that these bills, which are going to help the American people, are not getting pushed through. And it's really making Republicans they're really hurting themselves, particularly if they're not going to help Social Security and other benefits to seniors, because seniors make up a lot of what remains of the Republican Party. Yeah. So with those types of cards, lovers, the magician, the health, 3 of Pentacles, which would indicate real estate or new contracts, definitely when we're thinking about the New Deal, new infrastructure, etc. Wow, great cards for Biden. Not so great, though, for Congress when you look at that 8 of Wands happening quickly, a tower. But we know that in January, a lot more indictments are going to be happening, and also the public exposure of the investigation also in January. 23 Democrats leaving the House. That's okay. They'll be replaced by new Democrats. I don't see them doing as well as they think they're going to do. Even if they did, the new Republican Party is not the same as the old Republican Party, because the only economy that's left is the green. We won't be able to deal with the rest of the world because the rest of the world has gone green. We have no choice at this point. India's going green. You know, like the major economies are all going green. Germany just shut down their nuclear power plants. They won't buy our stuff. So we can either get with the program or not. All right. Love and light to everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. Be sure and support the other readers. I had a lot of fun today. Again, if you haven't had a chance to like and subscribe or even join, that would be awesome. I will see all of the students for HCRV on Wednesday. If Wednesday's a problem for you, write me, but looks like Wednesday looks pretty good for most people. I like Monday too. What happened to Monday? How come people stopped wanting to do Monday? I don't know. If you have a really strong feeling about when you want HCRV class to take place, just send me an email and we can. I'm open to changing the dates for the HCRV class. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thank you so much. Be well. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And I'm so glad you liked it, Geocosmic Valentine. I like it as well. And always a pleasure.